Joe Rogan. So Joe Rogan was recently in the news because he had a very candid discussion with Chase Hughes, a former CIA guy, about how former presidents were trying to deplatform him from Spotify for spreading misinformation. Do you realize how insane that is? Former presidents were going out of their way to try and deplatform Joe Rogan. Joe Rogan, the podcaster. Presidents, they were like, boop, boop, boop. Yes, we need to deplatform him.
And it was the blowback was crazy. They tried to crush my sponsors. They organized campaigns. There was PACs involved.
Really?
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Thank God I was on Spotify. And thank God Spotify is not an American company. And also, it helped that I was number 1 in like 90 countries and not number 90 in one country. You
Yeah.
know, that helped.
Yeah.
That helped a lot. The size of it it was so big that as big as they were, they're like, "Oh." And then there's the Streisand thing. Like, you try to silence something, you're just gonna make it bigger.
Yeah.
If they had kicked me off of Spotify and I had to go to Rumble, it would've just blown Rumble's stock up, and it would've helped everybody.
Yeah. I didn't know that there was that much shit going on in your
Oh, I
life.
can't even talk about it, but there was presidents involved and former presidents involved that were contacting Spotify. Oh,
Wow.
yeah. Oh, yeah, trying to get me removed. Yeah.
Wow. And
It turned
having
out to be right.
for
All of it, not a single
interviewing.
fucking apologize.
I mean, the former president's trying to deplatform. So we know he used the term, he didn't say president, he said presidents. So he's referring to more than one president, obviously, right? So let's try to unpack who he's referring to here. We're going to have to read between the lines a little bit. Okay, so current president is President Trump. Do we think that President Trump would try to have Joe deplatformed for misinformation? Probably not, right? Probably not, because Trump ended up going on Rogan. A lot of people liked it, some people hated it. And he has a decent relationship with Rogan, right? So I don't think it's President Trump. I think that's fair to rule him out. President Trump has been very complimentary of Joe. Joe says that he agrees with certain things Trump does and certain things he doesn't. They've been kind of complimentary of each other for the most part. So I think it's safe to say we can rule Trump out, right? Okay. Now, the next guy on the list here that I'm thinking of is George Bush. George W. Bush. So Joe has been critical of this revolving door that exists in Washington and the private sector, more specifically, the military industrial complex, which basically is this idea that these private military contractors lobby the government so that you end up going to war and then they stand to profit. So they're basically war profiteers, right? And the best case that I can point to about this is with Dick Cheney, who was the former vice president of the US when George W. Bush was president. Dick Cheney obviously was the CEO and had a giant stake in Halliburton, which is a military and industrial complex company. And they had a subsidiary that was called KBR. And if you listen to Sean Ryan or Nick Irving or any of these former veterans, they talk about this company, KBR. You're probably like, what the fuck is KBR? KBR was on everything. It's like some logistics company. So like the mess hall that was constructed, KBR. The food they gave you, KBR. The trucks, KBR. Everything came from KBR. The latrines, oh, KBR. Toilet paper, KBR. So it was like this private holding company that basically supplied everything to the military. And Dick Cheney profited from that. Now, Rogan has been very outspoken in calling out this connection between George W. Bush and Dick Cheney with the military industrial complex. But George Bush is older, so I don't think he even really knows who Rogan is, to be honest with you guys. I don't think it's Bush. It could be Bush, but I just don't think it's Bush. Now, Obama is very interesting because on certain occasions, Joe has been very complimentary of Obama. But then on other occasions, he's kind of pushed back at him and called him out for certain things and even platformed people who have been very critical of Obama. So, like, Edward Snowden was an Obama supporter, before working for the NSA. And then after leaving, he was very critical of Obama because one of the big campaign promises that Obama had was that he would protect whistleblowers. It was even on the Change, website or whatever. Obama, all Change, the campaign website. So anyway, Rogan platformed people who were critical of Obama. He said some good things about him in the past, said some bad things. So it's kind of a mixed bag, right? But here's the issue that comes to mind. Obama was very vocal about compliance and mainstream media narratives in 2021 and in 2022. And we know that he was a big advisor to Joe Biden, President Joe Biden at the time. And we know that Obama was also involved in the Organizing for Action, which is his political organization he created, and he had strong relationships with Silicon Valley and the media pull to be able to get Joe Rogan deplatformed. So that's interesting, is like maybe Obama necessarily didn't like Rogan, but it's the fact that Biden's the president and Obama's kind of guiding him behind the scenes that leads me to believe that Obama actually is pretty likely to be one of the presidents that Joe was referring to, potentially wanting to deplatform. And of course, to get into the last person here, I believe to be the number one offender and very likely the former president that Joe was referring to. It's got to be Joe Biden. I mean, it has to be Joe Biden. We even have a situation where the White House press secretary, Jen Psaki, came out and directly commented on Joe Rogan and Spotify's controversy as far as spreading quote unquote misinformation. And she came out and said, our hope is that all major tech platforms be responsible and vigilant about misinformation. So that we know the White House was pressuring big tech at this point in time. And guess what? We found this out with the Twitter files because the FBI went to Biden FBI went to Twitter and said, take down and suppress all the stories about Hunter Biden's laptop because that would affect the election. And then guess what? Biden won the election and people didn't even know about this. So the Hunter Biden laptop story was a huge story that got swept under the rug. And we only found out about it with the Twitter files after Elon bought Twitter. And it came to light that the FBI interfered. I mean, that is Joe vehemently spoke about how much he hated the fact that the Hunter Biden laptop story died and it didn't get a chance to spread. And even today, a lot of people don't know about that story.